Welcome to Generous Impact. My name is Brett Brummett.
And my name is Amanda Brummett. We are joined today by Dr. Mari Ghali, founder of the Moving Beyond Cancer Collaborative. In this episode, you'll hear how Mari is building a space where movement, community, and holistic support help cancer survivors and thrivers reclaim strength, confidence, and joy. Well, Mari, thanks so much for being here. I would love it if you could start with just telling us about your background. Who are you personally and professionally?
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for having me. So my name is Mari Ghali. I'm an oncology acupuncturist and patient navigator here in Austin, Texas. Personally, I have a beautiful little 2.5-year-old daughter and husband here in Austin, but I've been in Austin for about 14 years. I'm originally from Southwest Wisconsin, from a very small town, and moved here for grad school. And I'm just one of the many that have not left Austin. So we have roots here now, and I've established my cancer rehab center here in town alongside Angela Wicker Ramos, who's a physical therapist. And about 5 years ago, we started Moving Beyond Cancer Collaborative, which is a nonprofit locally, but then we also serve people nationally and internationally with our online offerings. And we can chat more about that as well, but we try to support patients going through treatment as well as once treatment is over, helping them navigate the what now.
And then brag on yourself because there's all kinds of stuff, including like getting a doctorate out there.
Oh, that's right. I have my doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And I started my own practice about a decade ago now, always focusing on oncology care. And I'm very passionate about integrative medicine. So making sure that Western medicine and Eastern medicine or integrative medicine work together for the patient. So what is the patient's needs and how can we meet them and how can we make it affordable and feasible for everyone? So that's my passion work that I'm grateful to do.
Yeah. And thank you for that because we need more of that. Like there's a place in this world for acupuncture and antibiotics to all live together,
Yes,
especially in
absolutely.
cancer care. So
Totally.
thank
Yes,
you.
you need both. Integrative medicine is a collaborative work of practitioners who all specialize in oncology, but they might be a dietitian or a physical therapist or a massage therapist, acupuncturist, and we all work alongside your oncology care team. So it's not, choosing one or the other. It's creating your space where, oh, it's creating a space where all providers work together for your needs. And so it's really helpful for the oncologists to know that and understand that, knowing that we're all coming at it, understanding Western medicine, understanding our scope of practice, and also how we can best support the patient. So in my opinion, it's just like the best form of care because it keeps people from falling through the cracks. I have some patients who maybe they won't see their oncologist for another 2 weeks, but they're having like alarming symptoms right now and they don't know what's normal. But I do know what's normal and not normal. So I can tell them like, oh no, this is actually a call in. You need to go get this sorted. And that's happened quite a bit, or catching cellulitis or something like that. Just being able to have multiple providers, almost like you need your community when you have a baby. You need your community when you're going through cancer, and they all need to be experts in their field. So I think every patient deserves that.
Yeah. And so just to make sure people understand, you're not necessarily treating their cancer. You're treating all of the symptoms from the cancer and all the stuff that comes with the cancer treatment. And so,
Yes, definitely. And we always say that like we are not here to treat the cancer, we're here to treat your body and your mind and your spirit. So I always ask my patients like what's important to you? Is it making sure you can like get down on the floor and like play with your child as you're navigating treatment? Okay, let's make sure that your pain is under control, like your joint pain or hot flash or anything that might come up, neuropathy. We want to treat the things that improve quality of life and ensure that you feel like you can complete treatment so you can move on and keep going throughout everything.
there are a lot of things you can treat in the acupuncture and oriental medicine world, and cancer is a tough decision. I mean, you could be, putting needles in people's faces to get rid of wrinkles, or
Right.
UTIs or allergies. Like
Yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff, but that feels like an intentional choice to say, I want to take care of this population that's dealing with something really hard. What drew you to that?
Yeah. I really just personally, I've had so many family members pass away from cancer, and
Mm,
a lot of friends go through treatment. But when I was finishing grad school, I had lost an uncle to a cancer diagnosis. And it was during that like pivotal time of realizing, every patient, our family members, we want to give them every possible resource to help them navigate
yeah.
treatment. And I think when it came to choosing what was going to be my specialty, it just made sense for me personally to provide that care. And then a lot of people who are in the oncology world, like if you can do something, if there's grief in your life or sadness of going through that, if you can do anything to in a positive to help other people's family members, it just makes sense. So that's really been just my my reason.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there a specific time where you thought that Moving Beyond Cancer Collaborative would exist or when it started to form for you?
Yeah, it was very gradual. So I like I said, I've had my practice for 10 years. And the first few years, I take insurance and we have cash rate. But I would have patients that would come up to me and say that this is really helping me. Our plan is to treat symptoms and side effects so people can continue on with their cancer treatment care. So we'd have patients that say, this is helping me, but I can't afford it. Or, maybe we can not do the full treatment plan, just like half of it. And so I knew that although it is a business model to have insurance and a cash rate, it's not the business model that is serving the most people. And it doesn't work if we're not able to help as many patients as we can. So I knew we probably needed a different model. They didn't know how to start. And then COVID happened. So when the world shut down and we shut our clinic down, and I did buy the bread maker, I bought the art easel, I did all of that. And then I realized, like,
Mhm.
oh, we need a nonprofit. So I bought the How to Start a Nonprofit for Dummies book and a lot of like nonprofits in Texas. And I just read and read and went line by line and started being Beyond Cancer Collaborative.
Thinking back to those first few patients that came out to you, are there any like non-named people that really
Mhm.
stuck with you from them?
Definitely. I had patients that, in their life, one had been in the Peace Corps and came back and like really needed care, but like the health insurance didn't cover it. So like of course I wanted to give back to someone who gave back so much to the world for so long. And just noticing the difference and the I think how much better they felt knowing that they could do something like acupuncture or massage or do an exercise or yoga class and being able to do that while navigating treatment and having to like have something in their own power to help themselves. That's what really inspired me to think, okay, we need a nonprofit. We need to switch the model. It we always talked with my husband and I, like helping one person a week is great, but it's not actually solving the problem. And we had wonderful, wonderful patients in those early days that really inspired us to go big.
Yeah. And then how did you get partnered with the PT? Were you already co-treating
Mhm.
patients? Was she a
Yeah.
friend?
So Angela, she started cancer rehab Boston a decade ago. And then I came on board. I had been treating cancer patients privately in a volunteer situation. And I came on board to cancer rehab 8 years ago. And then 3 years into that friendship and work relationship, we co-founded MBCC just to just to we still have cancer rehab because it works for some people, but then this with the nonprofit, no one ever needs to get turned away. So if people have insurance coverage, great, we can see you. But if not, let's pivot over to the model that seems to be working for everyone.
So let's dive into the details. What
Yeah.
exactly do you guys offer? Who all
Mhm.
do you treat? How does it work?
Definitely. So we work with anyone affected by cancer as well as their loved ones. So we offer acupuncture, massage, skincare treatments. We have free exercise classes weekly in person and online. And then we also have meditation classes. So a lot for acupuncture and massage, some symptoms that we're treating or looking at like neuropathy, which is numbness in your fingers and hands after chemotherapy, pains and insomnia, hot flashes, stress and anxiety, depression. Acupuncture is wonderful with all of those. Our skincare, our oncology esthetician, with our skincare treatments, she treats a lot of skincare after chemo or radiation. There's a lot of side effects from radiation that affects the skin, and Samantha's wonderful and works with that. And then we have, all of our exercise classes are very intentionally picked where yes, yoga is wonderful, but it's also wonderful because it helps with balance and stretching and like post surgery, we can like work on certain muscle groups to help get your strength back. And then qigong is something that is great for neuropathy and energy. So all of our all of our services are picked to build community, but also using evidence-based research that shows it will support you as you navigate like the very many symptoms that we see through treatment. And then we also offer infusion support. So we'll go into cancer centers and do acupressure for patients as they're receiving chemotherapy. So as they're sitting there and getting their chemo, if they're starting to feel a little nauseous or stressed, then we have an acupuncturist there on site that can give acupressure to help with that. And then some of our services are at no cost. And then we have a sliding scale model that people pay what they can, but there's no like financial paperwork at all that they have to fill out. Some people might pay $5, some people might pay $45. And this Robin Hood method is really, it's helpful to our overall mission and our really our business plan, like nonprofits are businesses. So it has shown to really help that some people who want to support and they know there's a flat rate that they know that they're treating themselves, but they're also taking care of the next person who might not be able to be in a position to donate.
What an incredible model. Mari, do you have a guesstimate of how many patients you treat?
Past year, we treated almost 1,600 patients or gave 1,600 treatments, and the average for the average for the private room treatments was more than the flat rate. So it has shown this Robin Hood method, it has shown to really work. A lot of people are coming in who are able to and they want to support, and then it's helping the person who might not be able to.
That's really cool. Couple things you said in there that I'm really curious about. You went through not only treating those going through the journey, but also family members and I'm assuming caregivers. Like
Yes.
how involved do those services get for you guys?
It is equal. So I we have something called community acupuncture, which there's a large room with zero gravity chairs, and this makes it very economical. This is a model that for-profit acupuncture clinics have as well. It's very economical. People can get acupuncture at the same time in the same room, and caregivers can come along with. So personally, I have seen in my own life when a loved one is sick, their spouse skips maybe their annual physical or worse,
Oh, yeah.
right? That's it's not a priority for them. And then when they finally come up for air, maybe now their own health is not where it should be. So that has always been a concern for me. So I in my private clinic, their loved one would come in and I'm talking to their patient, or the patient would come in and I'm talking to their loved one as the patient's resting. And I know they need care just as much for stress and anxiety or something else. So it's quite common for when people book, they're booking for themselves and their loved one. And a lot of times we found that that's the only time the caregiver will take time for themselves if they know that their their wife or husband or partner is actually getting care in the next room, they can finally take a breath and also receive care. So that is a different model than a lot of integrated cancer center models that we see.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm really passionate about making sure these caregivers are getting attention as well, and
Yeah,
all the
that's
rates match, so they don't have to pay a different rate because you know it affects everyone. So
that's really, really cool. With that, I mean, that to me, that's a huge impact area that, the silent part of it. Are there other areas of impact you've seen for those receiving, regular support?
yeah, I think the one of the most rewarding feedbacks we get is the community that's been formed with a lot of our either classes or community acupuncture groups. So we had our annual luncheon here in November, and an entire table was just the yoga participants. Their Tuesday yoga class ladies all came because now they're friends, and they would not have met in any other circumstance because there's different age groups and people of, all parts of Austin that come together for the Tuesday yoga, and they're thanking us for that resource because now they have their own little support group, and that's been really rewarding. And I don't think I didn't expect that. Like we kind of put your head down and work when you're starting to do these things,
Mhm.
and coming up for air and like seeing the unexpected good has been really rewarding.
It's really, really cool. Now, I was poking around on the website, and the list of collaborators, practitioners, everybody helping out is really vast. Has there been an offshoot of that community too that's been really interesting to learn about?
Um, I think we have, yeah. So it's all started little by little. Like 5 years ago, we started with just like a few exercise classes, and then growing from there. And now we're starting to get people reaching out to us, wanting to volunteer, wanting to offer their space because they heard about us or they want to be a part of it. So that has been great to see. A lot of the providers, they all have advanced oncology trained services, and they also like give their input. So one of our providers, Gladys, she's a physical therapist and Pilates instructor, and we're seeing a need now for structured like 8-week rehab type exercise classes. So the offshoots of that has really helped in our expansion. So now we're going to be offering more of a structured 8-week exercise class where it's guided instead of online or just pop in. So that's been our, because of like you said, like the community and the offshoots, that's really been our way to grow. It's just like listening and hearing like, oh, I know this person in this part of town. I'm sure they'd want to help. Like that's how this has all gone.
So as you're talking about this, I can't help but think you run busy and successful private practice. So is there an expectation that if somebody like a vendor wants to do business with you and get your referrals through your private practice, that they should also consider participating in the nonprofit?
Yes, definitely. So my private practice I have, and it's been chugging along and it's great, but there's a lot of referrals back to NBCC at this point.
Mhm.
So we know the model, private practice model is pretty simple to follow and everything.
Yeah.
But a lot of the oncologists who are wonderful and supportive, I think they're quite supportive of our private clinic because of the nonprofit as well, because now a lot of practitioners don't want to refer to someone who maybe a patient can't see.
Sure.
And now there's like literally no reason to turn anyone away. So I think that has been a positive for both businesses.
Yeah, most definitely. And then let's talk business and culture. So, you guys are volunteer organization. So how do you create that sticky environment where everybody's really engaged, that supports
Mhm.
healing, empowerment, community? How do you do that on a part-time volunteer basis?
Yeah, so I was an executive director, like volunteer for 5 years, but all of our providers are paid the market rate.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so that was like one thing I'm very certain on is I sometimes with volunteering, the burnout, there's like a burnout rate, right? So starting off that was never going to be an option for me for our providers. So all of our providers are paid the market rate for the service that they provide. There is one exercise trainer who wants to volunteer her time, and that's wonderful, and we acknowledge that and thank her, but everyone else is, yeah, they're all compensated.
Nice. So you've actually figured out how to run a nonprofit that is successful enough that you can pay your practitioners. That is incredible. Is your next venture going to be how to run a successful nonprofit?
Yes, that would be wonderful. So our next plan and what I've been working on is, the a nonprofit is a business, and creating this model that can be duplicated. So, we to get calls from people in Chicago and St. Louis, or I have patients who are like, "Oh my gosh, my family members in, I don't know, let's say Arizona. What's the MBCC clinic there?" And there isn't one. So my plan, and I just put it out there because it's going to happen. I have great faith if I just keep chipping away at it, is to create a model based on what we've started here as a pilot that can be adopted in other cities. So they can be adopted, maybe a cancer center with like a nonprofit affiliate. And we do have our charitable care fund. That's what we fundraise for. That's what we, apply for grants. So if there are cancer centers, mid to small level cancer centers that, hey, maybe they can't put in a full for-profit integrated cancer center next door or, with their business, maybe they can have a nonprofit affiliate where we can come in and establish care. That's the goal. And that's, this by the end of this first quarter. So we'll have everything ready to go to present to cancer centers.
Well, that is really, really cool, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited for that to take off and thrive and go on, and that really takes me out of my 2 normal canned questions I like to ask people are, 1, how do you build something that outlives yourself in a thing?
Yeah.
And then 2, what's your most wildly successful 3 years looking forward for this thing? So I think you just told us both of those things. So I'm gonna turn and throw a curveball.
Okay.
With that kind of ambition and growth, how do you keep the mission centric to the message as you go through all those growth steps?
Oh, that's a really good question. Every time we make a decision, they have a wonderful advisory board, and we just go back to like, does this check off the mission box? Because you can expand as much, right? Like you could apply for a grant that doesn't really have anything to do with your mission, but maybe those funds would be helpful, and you can adjust your nonprofit to that grant's, purpose. And I don't want to start with that because I think that's a slippery slope. So every time we add anything, we go back to like, does this serve our mission? And is this replicable? So it took a couple years, but I did have like, do you have like a hit by a bus plan? And I didn't at that time. Like because I was a volunteer executive director, like you said, like
Mhm.
if I were to step down, would MBCC keep going? And there was a time where it was a no. The goal now is, I think we have a plan now that it will keep going, which is a wonderful thing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, and since I didn't read it, was that in the Nonprofit for Dummies, or is that something you
that
just
was
learned along the
not in
way?
the nonprofit for dummies. It was not, I actually didn't get to that chapter if it was. But, in a for-profit business, a business isn't successful if you can't walk away from it, right? So that's always been in the back of my head with a nonprofit as well. If when I gosh, it was like 2 when my daughter was born, this was like a moment where I was like, "Dang, I need to do something different." She was born and I was in the hospital still doing payroll on my phone. 'Cause I was the one to do that. I did not have systems in place for who was gonna do this if I am, you know, not able to. So, I have learned really quickly, like, I needed to do that, and after Caroline was born, it was kind of like changing the business model a little bit, adding in the Robin Hood method and realizing that really did take off.
Oh, wow, that is so inspirational. As somebody who did the opposite and went to business school, those things that seem like basics to me, I'm always humbled and fascinated at the brilliant clinicians that figure it out on the fly. And then I'm like, man, I wish
I
I
did
would have
not go to
just known
business
this.
school. Oh, we
But
didn't.
it's more impressive that
Okay.
you figured it out
Oh,
on your own. Well done.
thank you. It
If
would have been a
there
lot better if I would have went to business school.
You'd have even more medical or not medical, student loan debt. So
That's true.
you already knew the things you needed to do. What about if there's someone listening to your story today and they think, wow, I want to be like Mari and I want to start something. What advice would you give them?
Oh, goodness. If someone is listening and wants to start a nonprofit, I would say just start small and keep it very simple. And I've always in like the dream big mindset, but then bring it back down to like, what could we do like this week or this month? So starting small, get a really good board of advisors around you. Also, just like 3 to 5 people who share your passion. And then, yeah, keep it mission driven. Like, always come back to like, what is the actual passion? And know that like things don't happen overnight. The other day, I was like, oh, I just really feel like this is going to work out. And a board member was like, Maria, it is working out. Like, look at what we have done so far. I was like, oh,
Yeah. It's always hard to sit in the day and know that the day's work is also good work, even when you have
it's
plans for the future.
true.
Yeah,
That's so
it's really
true.
hard. Now, you've talked about having, other board members, other outside influences. Can I learn a little bit further? Like, who else in the cancer support and wellness areas are you drawing inspiration from?
Absolutely. So I grew up, I mean, large scale. I grew up and my undergrad was near the Mayo Clinic. So I was going to go to med school, but then I learned about they have this amazing integrative medicine program. So I've studied that like, that's 15 years. And then learned about the Dempsey Center, which is in Maine. Patrick Dempsey started it in honor of his mother. And they have integrative wellness cancer center. It's an integrative wellness cancer center that with offerings of acupuncture and massage. Their model is a little different, but the offerings are quite similar. And then there's the Flatwater Foundation, which is a local Austin nonprofit. They offer free counseling to anyone affected by cancer. So they're really we don't really touch. I mean, we touch on like mind body care, but we don't offer counseling services. And that's because it's already established and so wonderful here in Austin. Collaborate and refer back and forth. So the Flatwater Foundation here in Austin is wonderful. Integrative, there's integrative cancer centers, again, like a part of the cancer center world, like Dana-Farber and
Mhm.
everything. But as far as the model for the nonprofit, I think the Dempsey Center is like such a great model to look at. And I've chatted with them early years and they were very wonderful and helpful in sharing like what worked for them and what didn't. Very generous group. So
Nice. Back to the whole idea of collaborative health. Like, you gotta learn. We get there
you
faster
have
together.
to, I know. And sometimes you just have to ask. Like that's what I've learned. A lot of people want to help if they want to help me because they know that we're all just trying our best, right? And
Um,
um our our mission is good, I hope. So I think
yeah.
that I've
Well,
learned there's a
I
lot of helpers out there.
yes, mission is good. You don't have to hope on that one. And then how does someone, either in the local community or beyond the local community, help and support the mission of you guys?
Oh goodness. So we are always looking for just always looking for collaborators, whether it's like a corporate role of people who want to support us with our charitable care fund, or if someone in the local Austin wants to help with donating space or helping get the word out. More and more, I this past like 6 months, I've had people reach out to me saying like, "How can I volunteer and how can I help?" So
Mhm.
I am now finally like creating a structured option for people to like choose how can they support us. So if they want just to reach out to me personally, that would be amazing. My they can always get my information to you if that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
for sure.
Okay. But, we're always looking for, like, wellness collaborators, whether it's space donated or maybe a Pilates instructor in South Austin wants to donate their
Mhm.
time or they wanna be involved and we can get them on the payroll to offer sessions down south.
Nice.
That would be helpful. Yeah.
Well, really cool. Well, I thank you so much for what you're doing in our community. I'm sorry there was cancer in the family that kind of turned you on to it, but also I'm really, in a very sick way, happy about it because now you're here. So I appreciate that and all your practitioners. And I'm so happy about all the family caregiver support in there and keep it going forward. And if you
Oh.
need encouragement, we can be your cheerleaders
Oh, thank
anytime.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you both. I really appreciate your time and just allowing me to share more of what we're doing here.
Thank you for joining us on Generous Impact. Today we learned how Mari and her team at the Moving Beyond Cancer Collaborative are changing lives through intentional movement, community care, and evidence-based support. To learn more or get involved, you can find them at mbccollaborative.org.